Okay, Dylan, do you want to give us a synopsis?
Sure, let me give you a synopsis. I lost the synopsis.
Do you wanna see that movie? Do you wanna see that movie? Do you wanna see that movie?
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Lynn.
Shh.
Okay, listeners, get ready to cover your ears in fear as tonight you will bear witness to the first installment of Tony's Tales of Terror, where our resident horror buff, Tony, will pick one terrifying movie for us to watch and discuss. Tony, please tell the listeners what movie we will be discussing tonight.
Tonight we will be doing Sinister.
Sinister is a 2012 horror movie directed by Scott Derrickson, written by C. Robert Cargill, starring Ethan Hawke, among others. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. Then come back and listen to the podcast if you dare. But before we get into it, let's run the trailer.
What you are witnessing are the murders of 5 families captured on film. To this day, none of the cases have been solved. The only thing that connects them is the appearance of this figure.
The ancient church believed he actually lived in the images themselves.
What is happening?
Trevor?
Sinister.
Okay, Dylan, do you want to give us a synopsis?
Sure, let me give you a synopsis. I lost the synopsis.
Oh, we're off to a great start.
Fantastic. Hold on.
So, for anybody that doesn't know, Tony was out watching horror movies all night last night. Am I correct?
This is true. We did the Murder Thief Friday the 13th Murder-thon on Friday. Parts 1 through 6.
Holy shit!
All on 35 millimeter at the Coolidge Corner Theater in Boston.
That
amazing place to catch you on your retro.
Fucking awesome.
That's hardcore right there.
Yeah, so anybody that is wondering, you are in good hands with Tony. This guy is die hard, no pun intended.
Yeah.
All right, I've got my synopsis up.
All right.
True crime writer Ellison Oswald, played by Ethan Hawke, is in a slump. He hasn't had a bestseller in more than 10 years and is becoming increasingly desperate for a hit. So when he discovers the existence of a snuff film showing the deaths of a family, he vows to solve the mystery. He moves his own family into the victim's home and gets to work. However, when old film footage and other clues hint at the presence of a supernatural force, Ellison learns that living in the house may be fatal.
Nice. All right, I got a couple of facts on this one. This had a budget of only $3 million, and it had a box office gross of $87.7 million. So this was a smash success, which obviously led to a sequel, which I did see, and it was not this movie. Writer Robert Cargill got the idea for Sinister from a nightmare he had after watching The Ring, a movie that I sat through about half of because it was also very scary. All the home movie scenes here were actually shot on an 8mm camera to give them that gritty, realistic look, which really worked. Robert Cargill bragged that the movie was given an R rating almost solely for being scary, which is true because really there's not a lot of blood, gore, or swearing in this. And in 2020, Forbes magazine named Sinister the scariest movie ever made, which up till now, with my limited views of horror movies, I would agree with, because this movie scared the fuck out of me. So that's what I have.
You have anything interesting for us, Tony, on this one?
Not so much interesting as much as it's funny. This is, over the years since I've seen it, has turned into easily one of the ones I'll recommend to somebody's like, all right, what's one of your scary? Ask that question repeatedly. Like, give me something scary. I've seen everything. And I'll always throw this out and people are like, well, I've never heard of it. It's funny because it's one of those ones that flew under the radar when it came out. It caught an audience in DVD and Blu-ray, but it's still not very well known as like most horror movies are. And I actually dismissed it myself, It's like, Mr. After Midnight, Mr. Dead Poet Society. It's like, he was the 90s alt generation. I know, like, he's not going to carry a horror movie, and he killed it in this. It's like everything about this movie is literally almost perfect. And I don't say that about a lot of horror movies. This one hits all the notes exactly where they need to be, gives you the reasons, gives you the scares, explains everything that needs to be explained, and leaves some things unexplained, which makes it even better.
Yeah, I watched this today during the day. It was only the second time I ever saw it. And the first time I saw it, I literally had to pause it in the middle and go out and rejoin life in the kitchen for a few minutes to get my wits about me and then go back and finish it. So middle of the day today, I literally screamed out loud like a bitch, like, ah! And I texted Tony, I'm like, I just screamed out loud. And I caught myself jumping and fidgeting, and I was biting my fingernails, and I'm not a fingernail biter. And this movie's fucking badass.
Yeah, there's one part in this movie that I experienced that full body chill that you get when something really gets you good. And I wasn't expecting it at all. And it hit me. And I was like, and the thing is that when I'm doing these movies, when I'm the one hosting, I'm watching the movie, pausing it, writing out my thoughts so that I can, host properly, and writing out the scene, starting it again. So unfortunately, it does take me out of the movie a little bit. And when I have time, I try to watch a movie twice. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes life gets in the way and it doesn't happen. And I didn't get to watch this twice, but I was still surprised that even with stopping it and like getting interrupted and like, getting up and taking the dog out and stuff like that, it still got me like full body chills at least twice, and that's pretty impressive.
It was funny. We had the body chill on the same exact scene because we discussed it. It wasn't a yell out loud scene or a jump scare. It was when the girl was laying in bed and she's not sleeping and she's staring at the other little girl. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You just said it. My arms, I felt the hair on my arms prickle up. For some reason that scene really got me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Scares are the best because there's no musical sting that goes along with it. It just reveals what it is.
And there's so many of those in this movie too. It's just like, oh
yeah, it's like the scene in the Strangers where she's lighting a cigarette in the foreground, in the background, out of the darkness comes this figure, just stands there, watches her. Stranger's there, but it's literally 10 feet behind her, and that's what exactly this movie is full of. That unease,
yes,
comfort,
yes, yes. I mean, to be frank, I mean, I'm not spoiling anything here, but I'd say maybe 55 to 60% of the movie is Ethan Hawke stalking around in the dark with a baseball bat. So it's like,
it's like he can't seem to locate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This movie would have been 80% less scary if he just flicked on a light. But he doesn't. Thank God he doesn't. But
I actually thought that to myself. I thought this is a very dark movie. The way it was shot, very dark, but thank God, because
I actually messed with my settings on my TV because I was like, I can't see what's happening. So I was messing with my settings, trying to see it better. And I ended up finding like a movie maker kind of setting that made it so I could actually see a little better. I mean, it's still dark, but at least I could see something of what was happening. It wasn't just like a white light moving when he had the flashlight. Initially, when I was watching it, it was just like a white light moving across the TV. I'm like, okay, that's no good. I can't see anything.
Yeah, it's really smart. It's really smart horror because there's so many clever shots, holding a picture up, putting it down, and then you're getting a scare, or, his computer's watching him. Just these really simple little tricks that just make you go, oh, fuck,
It's like, why has no one thought of this before? It's like, again.
Yeah, I'll be gushing over this one, and again, horror is not my genre, but this movie was just fucking so good.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
It.
Yeah,
it hits it.
All right, let's do it.
Are we ready to go?
Yep.
Yeah, let's get
All right. So our first scene is of 4 people. It's grainy, and it appears to be old 8mm film. They have bags over their heads and are tied to a rope that is suspended from a tree. As we watch, one of the branches is cut, and the weight of the heavy branch falling pulls the ropes up, and the 4 people as well as they're hung from the tree. They struggle before falling still. We are introduced to the title of the movie, Sinister, before we see a moving van. It is parked in front of a house, and Ellison Oswalt, played by Ethan Hawke, and his family, his wife Tracy, played by Juliette Rylance, his son Trevor, played by Michael Hall Diodario, and daughter Ashley, played by Claire Foley, are moving into a new home. The local sheriff, played by Fred Thompson, shows up and tries to convince Ellison to pack the truck back up and leave. He's aware that Ellison is a crime novelist and he's there to write about a murder, or the murder, and that there's still a little girl missing. During their conversation, the sheriff says that one of Ellison's books allowed a murderer to go free, and he doesn't want that attention on their town. You know, the town's looking to forget. They're looking to move past the murder. Tracy's watching from a little bit away, and she asks why the cop was pointing at the house. She asks, "We didn't move a few doors down from a crime scene again, did we?" He promises her that they have not. When he enters the house and looks out of the backyard, the tree from the opening scene is plainly visible. The cut limb is still dangling from the trunk. Tony, between what he says to his wife and the promise he makes to his daughter that they can move back, Ellison Oswald is already proving himself to be a liar right out of the gate.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. That's one of the things I did want to bring up. I was going to bring it up later because when they get into the fight,
Oh yeah.
It's very real. There's very few times in a movie where a husband and wife or a family will argue that I get uncomfortable. Like I shouldn't be watching this. Like when it gets under my skin. This one, between the two of them, you could see he's telling the truth. No, we didn't move up the street. We moved into the fucking murder. We'll tell you that. But it's like he's trying to do what he has to do to get his book out, and I understand it, but I've been in those kind of fights before. Like I think every single person that has been in a relationship has made those kind of statements, those kind of quote white lies to them, but the biggest lies in the world to somebody else. And when the fight finally blows up, it's one of the most real husband and wife fights that I've seen on film in a long time up to that point.
Yeah.
It was really real and really uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable movie. So I mean, the acting in this film is way above par for horror. I mean, it's really top notch between Ethan Hawke. You got Vincent D'Onofrio. Just hey, let me do somebody a favor and show up as an expert. Just roll it in. It's great cast.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even the kids are great. I thought the boy was great. He was, I mean, obviously I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but like when he has his night terrors, I mean, they were believable. I was like, holy crap, so, everybody was really bringing their A game.
Yeah. Right away, as soon as this movie started, you can really see the difference between this and what I see most of the time when I watch horror movies. It really drew me in because, like you said, Tony, the acting was great. It was shot like a real blockbuster movie. Like it didn't look like any corners were cut. And, I love the deputy standing there with, the Kentucky, what was it called? Kentucky Blood book. So, right away you've seen that, Ethan Hawke is, fairly famous. He's had his hit, he's had his miss. And he's kind of a detective, which I thought was kind of cool too. He's not just a horror author, but he also is a little bit of a sleuth. So right away, the opening of this movie drew me right in. I thought it was great.
Awesome. So Ellison goes up to the attic to store some boxes. He's greeted by a scorpion that he crushes. He finds a box that was left behind and has an old Super 8 movie projector in it. He notices 2 films right off the bat, Family Hanging Out 11 and Family Barbecue 79. He takes the box downstairs to look at later. After a family dinner where the kids are reminded to stay out of Dad's office and Tracy reminds Ellison to always lock the door behind him, Ellison and Tracy have a conversation about Ellison's career. She wants to know if he's going to continue to chase the success he had with Kentucky Blood. And, she feels like he's missing out time with their kids in the meantime. This time is going to be gone. You're going to blink and it's going to be over. He says he just needs this one more chance. She says if this whole situation goes sour, she's going to take the kids and go live with her sister, and he agrees. And Des, I can't really blame the wife here. This is 10 years since Kentucky Blood, so that means 10 years of chasing this dream with him. And I think the oldest child is 12, so that means he was 2 when that book came out, and it's been the little girl's entire life. So.
Right. Well, first of all, just a fun fact. The actors that were in the trees, they were stunt actors, and one of them actually hung for a few seconds. It was a mishap, and they weren't injured, but they did hang.
Wow.
Fired the stunt coordinator immediately.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it was the same guy on The Mummy that caused Brendan Fraser to almost die during his hanging scene.
All right.
But so right away, these are fucking horrible parents. They're horrible parents. These kids are fucked up from this guy's career. This isn't the first time he's dragged these kids through these horrible situations, and we're getting this information early in the movie. And at this point, I think, this kid's having night terrors. The little girl's drawing fucked up pictures, and we're getting the exposition that this has been going on. And it's obviously because the dad is dragging him into these uncomfortable situations where the towns are going into, the father is basically just, stirring up these bad emotions in town. People don't want him around, and the kids are taking the heat. And the mother knows what's going to happen. She says, if this happens again, I'm taking the kids to my sister's. And it's like, no, this guy should be fucking going away and writing his book for 3 months, whatever it is, and then rejoining the family. So yeah, right away, fuck these parents. They both suck.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. And literally the first 10 minutes of that scene, we need to know about the family. Make sure you keep the door locked because of what happened last time.
Yeah,
so obviously
right.
Something's happened last time. He's got night terrors. Like you said, the daughter's drawing messed up stuff. You don't draw on any wall but your own room. So they know she's going to do it. Just keep it in your room. She's like, you hit the nail on the head. Is that literally the writing is so good. Nothing is spelled out for you, but you understand their entire relationship and history in that 10 minutes, 5-minute dinner conversation about this is what's going to go. This is the rule going forward.
Yeah. And the funny thing is like, it's not, it's kind of like, I don't want to say a masterclass because that's being stupid, but it's almost like a masterclass in show, don't tell. And they're showing us without telling us, like you get exactly what's going on in this family without anyone actually like laying it out for you.
This is perfect exposition in a movie. It's not beating you over the head. You don't even realize that they're giving you this data download, this huge dump, but you understand everything. And it's great. It's fucking great.
You want to know what happened before they got to this point, but in 10 minutes, you're going to find out because it's all going to happen over again.
Right.
Yeah. And slowly but surely the wife is going to dribble out facts of what happened before.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
And again, they're not in Texas. They're not in Arizona. This is very New England feel.
Mm-hmm.
Who the hell finds a scorpion in their attic? Come on, that's a sign.
I was trying to figure out where they were that there was a scorpion in the attic. I was like, this looks like Connecticut, And
I love how the different, animals, the dog, the scorpion, the snake, it all pays off in the end. And I love a good payoff.
Exactly. Yeah. It is hint. These are hints that do pay off later, but it's one of those, I'm moving into a house. I just found a scorpion. I'm calling we don't have scorpions in Boston. We don't get these here. Why here,
Yeah. Ethan Hawke is not, for a detective, for a super sleuth.
The deduction failed on that day.
They did. Yeah. And the deputy or the sheriff we're going to get, his little sidekick. I love it. And is he just known as Deputy So-and-so or is there no name?
He literally has no name.
Okay.
He's Deputy So-and-so in this one and ex-Deputy So-and-so in the next one.
I loved the character. The guy's face, his expressions. It's really good. It's really good.
I love the fact that they basically just keep teaming up. It's like Ethan Hawke has dragged him into this. He dragged him in the second. Dragged him. He's actually plays Ethan Hawke's brother in The Black Phone.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, really?
All the same people. It's like they all just like keep like working together. They all work.
Nice.
Interesting. I haven't seen Black Phone yet. I'm going to have to put that on my list.
And the sheriff is, it's funny because I was actually just watching Stuart Saves His Family today. I'm like, that's the fucking sheriff.
How did you go from Stuart Saves the Day to Sinister?
I had to, Tony. I had to because it cleansed me. It cleansed me from the horror. I had just, like, I gotta fucking watch something that's gonna fucking get me off the ledge here.
Followed by Paddington.
Yeah, so it was Stuart Saves His Family. So God.
I can't even believe you've now invoked the word Stuart Saves His Family on this podcast. Oh God.
Dylan came in, she's like, what are you watching? I'm like, I had to. I was so scared.
And that's okay.
Okay.
Moving on. Ellison at this point retreats to his office to set up and get to work. He's putting crime scene photos up and realizes there's a photo from the attic and it's empty. There's no box with a projector or film. Wondering where it came from, he decides to set it up and see what's on the tapes. He rolls family hanging out 11. He sees the Stevenson's family that lived there before him. They're outside playing ball, playing with the tire swing. Then the scene we saw at the start of the film, the family minus one little girl, Stephanie, hanging from the tree as the tree branch is cut away. Ellison is horrified, but makes himself a drink and starts the film over. His two main takeaways are who filmed this movie and where is Stephanie now. After a small break, he returns to the movies and cues up the barbecue one. A family is having a cookout by the river. Stop shaking your ice.
It's not.
Okay, be quiet. A family is having a cookout by the river. They get into their car to leave. Then the car is wrapped in chains and the mother and father are inside, bound and gagged, before the car is set ablaze. He immediately calls the police, but looking at the shelf with a bunch of his books, Kentucky Blood, he hangs up. So, Tony, at this point, you can see the wheels turning in his head already.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anything he tried. Oh, you're stirring up shit again. This guy is perfect at picking off healed over scabs. All law enforcement is against him. Any kind of trying to do isn't going to happen.
Mhm.
So he's just on his own for the first half, we'll say.
This first scene for me, one thing that I really loved is he's got crime scene photos, and he notices that there was no box in the attic in the crime scene photo, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So I thought that was really cool. He watches the first murder and then he watches the second murder. Like you said, he goes to call the police department. And I kind of got from this scene that he wanted to call the police department because he discovered the second murder. And then I think that he realized not so much that he thought the police were going to, poo-poo him for being a scab picker, but more I felt like he was like, wait a second, this might be
onto
it.
something here.
Like this may be my big shot to get like a Hollywood blockbuster movie, all the interviews. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you could see it both ways, but that's kind of what I got from it. And I did really love that little detail they put in that the box wasn't there in the crime scene photos. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And,
No, I think you're definitely right with that, because the scene soon after drinking another drink is him watching old VHS tapes of his popular interviews after his book is gone.
Yes.
Bestseller. So he is revisiting that and thinking this is where things are going to.
Yeah.
Definitely.
He wants to be back on the talk shows and, on Oprah and all that stuff. And it's not going to happen if he doesn't have a book that has something behind it. So I think he sees this video, looks at Kentucky Blood and says, if I want to top Kentucky Blood or even get back there, I need something big. And this is something really big.
Yeah. And I love The Office. The Office is really cool. Like you said, it's one of those things where it's almost a character in the movie. It's really big. Yeah. It's got, that lit up cabinet behind it. He's got the sheet, which works great because you're seeing all the creases in the sheet.
Yes.
In the and it really is it's a good image. And also, they shorten it each time he uses it, but the first setup of the 8mm camera is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives you that old school vibe of the film and that noise, which I love. And of course, that noise becomes like it almost becomes like Jaws music in this movie. You hear that projector and it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's like the low hum in Paranormal Activity. You know something about to go down when you hear that.
Yeah. The soundtrack and soundtrack not in music, but the sound score in this is it's rich. It almost like encases you while you're watching it. It's just really good. It drags you into the movie. It's just saturating. That's the word I was looking for. As I was sitting there watching the movie, I'm like, man, the soundtrack is just like saturating me,
Yeah, it really kind of pulls you in.
It's one of those ones I've been searching for literally since the night after I watch it. I'm like, I need the soundtrack. It's only available on vinyl. And the CD is only small selections from it. It's not the actual score, because the actual score was pieced together from random projects. It's not even like he composed a score. They literally, here's this guy, we like what he does. And they went through all this stuff and pulled out small little snippets here and there and made it work for them.
Wow.
And it's not even the soundtrack. It's like tribal drums and it's moaning and it's humming. It's disturbing. It's amazing.
And that's what I was saying. Like, it wasn't even like a soundtrack, like, oh man, this is a great, like Trick or Treat. Like, oh, it's a great soundtrack. No, this was just like great. I don't know
noises that were music, but they weren't music at the same time.
Yeah. It was like a trance. It put you in a trance as you watch this movie. It was perfect.
Yeah,
It almo-
most of it had that backwards whoom kind of like
yeah.
weird off-putting.
Yeah, it almost makes you feel like that's kind of what Ellison felt like when he's watching these things. Like you get, have you ever watched something and it disturbs you so much you get that woomph in your chest almost?
Yeah.
You have to think like when he's realizing he's watching people getting killed, like that's horrifying. And I believe I read in the trivia for this that they didn't let him see it before they showed like that reaction was actually real. They didn't let him see the snuff films before they played them on the 8mm tape for him.
Right.
Yeah, true enough.
So
which is such a great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So he intends to start up another movie titled Pool Party 86, but he hears movement in the hallway. He thinks it's his daughter, but when he checks on her, she's asleep. He hears loud creaking coming from the attic. He walks around the house until he finds a suspicious moving box. The flaps begin to open, and his son, Trevor, emerges, his back contorting as he's having a night terror. Ellison grabs him and takes him outside, and Tracy comes because she hears the screaming. They take him outside and make him look at the stars, and he snaps out of it. Ellison says he wants to tell Tracy something, and when she asks what, he says he's sorry, that he thinks that the stress of the move has caused the night terror. And Des, I thought Ellison was going to own up and say, I moved us into the family of a house of a murdered family, and he drops the ball. He just like gives her kind of some lip service about the night terror.
Well, he almost does, but then he realizes again he's onto something and he doesn't want to spoil it. So he's very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I wake up in the middle of the night or I stumble out and I see that kid crawling out of a box backwards, like, here's what's happening. I'm pushing that box out the front door. I'm locking it. I'm calling the night deposit mental hospital and being like, yeah, come pick it up. It's on my front porch and I'll see you on your 18th birthday. Bye. No.
Oh my God. No,
I'm all set with that. That fucking was, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. There's a few times I'm sitting there, try to watch movies. I tend to watch them after everyone's gone to bed. I turn the lights off. I put headphones on because I don't want to wake anybody up.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch my movies. And this is one of those things I did the whole like staring at it and just, what the fuck? There's no other reaction to that scene because it's so weird. I mean, I have no other adjective for it. It's just like it opens up and he comes out upside down and with his face and screaming and just, I didn't see that coming. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's really terrifying about the scene, right, is it's his son. So you're terrified of this vision, but at the same time you love him and you have to like comfort him and go to him, which really terrified me because I'm like, I don't know if I would have. I probably would have either hit him in the head with a shovel or run in the other direction and locked my bedroom door. But I don't think I would have gone up and been like, it's okay, honey. Fuck that. Fuck
oh
that.
My God. Also, big props to the actor. He did a great job because it was really scary. And that was like he was contorting and just, it was good. It was good.
I found all of his scenes to be very scary. I found the little girl scenes to be very scary. I thought both actors did a great job. And I usually don't like kid actors in movies. They usually take me out of it because they just haven't developed their chops yet most times. Both of these kids did a really good job. But the other group of kids that they use in this, they weren't as good. Let's just say they weren't as good.
They served their purpose, but they were just like, all right.
Yeah, the makeup was a little off on the other kids. I just wanted to say, but I wasn't going to mention it because the movie is so fucking unbelievably amazing. I don't want to lead anybody to think that there was a mistake made because there wasn't.
Yeah, it just took you out of it a little bit.
I mean, when you're putting those two kids up against the other four kids, those two kids were much better, let's just say.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
All right. So the next morning after breakfast, Ellison starts the movies up again. This one is entitled Pool Party. He watches as a family of four enjoys a family of five, I think it was, but they were enjoying an afternoon at the pool. Then he watches in horror as it gets to be nighttime and the family are tied to pool chairs and pulled one by one into the pool. Here he gets his first glimpse of the killer. An eerie black and white face can be seen at the bottom of the pool. Frightened, he turns off the projector. Then he turns it back on and he pauses on the face, staring at it until the film overheats and sets on fire. He tries to edit the film to get a good shot of the face again using a video camera, but he's destroyed the part of the film with the face on it. So, Tony, like, I kind of figure at this point, like, what he's doing is illegal because he's in possession of snuff films. And that's illegal, right?
Yeah. So I hear.
These are going to be deeper episodes of Tony's Tales of Terror.
Let's just say the early days of the internet showed me a lot of things that I cannot unsee. And
Oh,
what to me,
God. Oh.
There's 2 clips that I just can't unsee. And when everyone's like, "Oh, what's the worst thing you've ever seen?" I'm like, I don't even talk about them.
Oh, God,
Probably
that's
better off.
terrifying. I'm scared just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's illegal to own snuff tapes. And it's funny because when I was, again, reading through the trivia, it's when you think about it, you don't think about it. It's like one of the most famous snuff tapes is public domain, and it's the assassination of JFK.
Yes.
Right.
You're literally watching the man die, and it's like, oh yeah, that's and everybody knows it, and there's documentary on it, but
You
we're
can watch
watching
it on the History Channel.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say, but you can't get like, oh, no, I'm not saying I want any.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So he's in possession of 1, snuff films, and 2, basically crime scene photos, crime scenes, films.
Right.
So yeah, these should be turned over. But again, he'd be giving up his lead, giving up his edge to get this investigative journalism going on his own side. If he turned it over, it would turn into a police thing, and he'd be locked out of it.
Right.
Yeah, and he's literally got video of the murder, the unsolved murder, and he's not sharing it with the police. So it's a problem.
There's 3 different murders at this point.
Right, but
we got
specifically
three more
the
in
one in the
hand.
town he's just moved to, that's still a fresh case for the most part.
Right.
Yeah, and like it's also moral compass wise, like that's not good for your moral compass.
No. Not to jump movies, Tony, but the snuff film scene from 8mm, I thought was done like really well. The guy Machete, I thought that whole scene felt like really genuine, super scary. Probably one of the scariest pieces of film I've ever seen as far as movie making.
We talked about doing that on here, and it's one of those ones that I think all of us kind of just feel dirty watching, so there's no need to bring that up. It's a great movie. I mean, you got Nicolas Cage going all Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah.
And you got the crazy Joaquin Phoenix being crazy Joaquin Phoenix. And but you're right. It's like that whole 30 minutes of that movie is so over the top into areas that most people never even want to know exist, let alone view.
Yeah.
And that always go hand in hand is 8mm, and there was a 1980 film called Hardcore.
Yeah, I've seen it.
George Scott, which is one of the most depressing, messed up movies I remember seeing when I was like 15 on Showtime. And I haven't watched it as an adult. I bought it. I'm like, oh, I got to revisit this, but I'm like, I can't bring myself to that. What it is George C. Scott is, church going father. Again, jumping movies. So sorry. He's like, and he's got a family. Teenage daughter goes missing. Basically kidnapped, drugged, and put into porn. And he basically is trying to find her. No one will help him find her. So he poses as a porn producer in the seedy of the porn industry. And the things that he discovers and finds out during his undercover work is just horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
It's so rainy and dirty feeling and just awful. So 8mm, that, and these when they film these in 8mm, to go from like the perfect pristine view of Ethan Hawke, stirring the ice in his drink, to this grainy footage of these people chained in a car being set on fire. It's such a, you're watching something you shouldn't be watching.
Yeah. What's the producer's name? Vito, the guy in 8mm.
Machine.
Yeah, Dino.
And the awesome film tattoo around his arm, which I'm like, I gotta get that. But
that character was so creepy. He's like on top of Nicolas Cage. He's like, can you feel me on you? And oh God, that movie's fucked up. All right, go ahead, honey.
Also, before we move past the breakfast scene here, it's a really innocent scene, but I'm assuming this was done on purpose. That huge picture window behind him, it's the tree. And it's right over his back through this entire like innocent breakfast scene. And something about it, I found it really unnerving. Like, and it's like, it's such a like, it's an innocuous breakfast scene. They're making bacon and drinking coffee, and that friggin' tree is right behind him, and it's just like, oh, like I don't know. It's like I couldn't live in that house. I think he's out of his mind to begin with. But anyways,
Yeah, and how are you gonna like? What kind of an asshole sends his kids to the school? Like everybody knows you're living in the house where the murders took place. I mean, you get teased going to a new school anyway. Just being a new kid in town.
yeah.
I mean, these parents are just they're shitty people, and these kids are going to need a lot of therapy. Trust me, I know.
One of them will.
Let me break down.
Neither of them will.
I don't need
Oh
the
my
box.
god.
If anybody knows about therapy, it's me.
Oh boy.
Okay.
So Tracy is back with the kids from school. Trevor drew a picture of 4 people hanging from a tree on a whiteboard with permanent marker. Presumably, the kids at school told him that was what happened. Unable to focus for even a moment on his children, Ellison is back at it in his office, queuing up the next movie. This time using his video camera to capture it as well, learning from his mistake this time. This time, the Super 8 is in a dark house. The family is tied to their beds and have their throats slit one by one. This time, it's 2 adults and a child. And after doing a little research, Ellison learns that a boy from that family went missing. The lights in his house turn out, and as he's reading online, and he hears loud creaking above him again. Using his flashlight, he goes around the house checking on his family when he hears a super loud bang in the attic. He takes a knife and heads up. Des, I'm not going up there. No fucking way.
No fucking way. Not doing it. Again, though, the kid comes home from school with this. That's it. That's it. Mom, I'm taking the kids to my sister's. This is it. So, yeah, but he goes up into the attic. What an awesome scene. The guy's got balls of steel. There's no way I'm going up there with a fucking, my fucking Android phone.
And a kitchen knife.
Not doing it. Not doing it. Yeah, just fucking great though, man. The whole premise of this movie is just so good. Everything they do, the little mini plots on each canister of film. Fucking, and we didn't even discuss just how amazing Boogaloo looks, or whatever his name is, Electric Boogaloo looks in the pool. So good. So good.
Boogaloo.
Ozone comes breaking through,
Yes, he does.
Does the worm. Oh my
Does the
God.
scorpion.
Oh my God. Oh boy. So he finds the top to the projector box, and under it is a snake. It slithers away, and Ellison notices drawings on the other side. The family's in the pool, the family hanging from the tree. Each family is accompanied by Mr. Boogie or Mr. Bogey. Is it Boogie? Who knows?
Boogle.
Well, I think it's the Bagool.
The Bagool.
When you get to his naughty name, but the kids have been writing Mr. Boogie.
Yeah.
Hearing more movement, he goes to follow it. In parentheses, I wrote dumbass.
Yeah.
And falls through the floor of the attic and through the ceiling below into his hallway. EMTs come. They want to take him to the hospital, and he's not going. When they leave, local deputy, played by James Ransom, asks for a signed copy of his book and then offers to help him. The deputy leaves, and Ellison begins digging through the movies again, this time noticing a black and white face in the hanging movie and in a reflection in the burning car movie. The deputy calls him back and tells him that the family in the burning car was the Martinez family from Sacramento, and their son was never found. He also told him that where the family in Illinois lived, and it turned out to be that the Stevenson family, the hanging family, had already lived in that house. As he comes to this realization, the face of Mr. Bogey on the computer screen turns to look at Ellison before turning back. He then checks the video of him falling through the ceiling, and he sees little hands grabbing him.
So good.
Oh,
God, so good.
Yeah, like, okay, Tony, is this where you pack up the fam and get the hell out of Dodge?
Oh no, that was like 3 days ago.
Yeah. That was when the sheriff said, "Leave now." Okay.
Yeah. I don't move into murder houses. Sorry, I've seen enough. I've seen enough things to know.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if I see these, okay, so you're being selfish and you're being narcissistic and you want to get back to where you were with the first book, and you're really pushing past your own comfort zone to make it happen. I see that picture of little hands grabbing me and pulling me down through the ceiling. Fuck no. No.
No.
Let me ask you guys: when he got pulled through the ceiling, did we get a quick shot of Boogaloo's face?
Boogaloo.
I refuse to acknowledge this.
Bagool? The Bagool. Did we get a quick shot of the Bagool's face?
I do not think he's there.
We didn't. No, it's just the intro, the first scene was just him falling through the floor. The replay was the hands grabbing. There's no Bagul in this,
Okay, I wasn't
except
sure.
for the slow head turn on the laptop, which was so good.
Oh my
So
God,
good.
it scared the living daylights out of me because you don't
And-
expect it.
It felt like he caught it out of the corner of his eye, but he had been drinking, and he kind of chalked it up to that.
Will you ever do that thing where something's moving in the corner of your eye and you look and it's not moving?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same idea. Like you think, like, did that just move? And then,
Oh.
but you're like, well, no, I
They
guess
always
not.
do. They
Yeah.
always do.
So good.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
They're always in
good.
the corner of your eye. Oh my goodness. So Ellison is laying in bed and he hears the movie projector start up in his office. It's playing the Hanging Family movie. He turns it off and takes the still photo he took from the video of the Bagul standing behind the hedges down and walks to the window. When he puts the photo back down, the Bagul is standing there at the bushes.
Oh, so good.
Oh, that was such a good one. That got me good.
Oh,
Ellison goes
oh,
outside with a baseball bat and a flashlight. Again, hell no.
Yeah.
And instead of Mr. Bagul, he finds Trevor in the bushes. He brings him back inside, then returns for the flashlight and bat. While he's out there, a dog appears, growling. He's trying to convince the dog that he's just trying to get his back. And then there's this, I actually had to back up this scene because I didn't think I saw it correctly. There's a quick scene where there are 5 figures standing behind Ellison, and he says to the dog, if you come with me, I'll bash your brains in. And then the dog takes off. The people are now gone, and Ellison hurries back into the house. Tracy begs him to stop writing the book and leave, and he says that the work is too important for him to do that. So, Des, I had to back up the movie because I didn't think he said what he said. Like, I'm like, there's no way he said that because he was saying to the dog, good doggy, I'm just going to take my bat. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to brash your brains. And I was like, I must have misheard that. But that's what he said.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear that line. So, yeah, it must have been very subtle.
I'm not going to hurt you, Wendy. I'm just going to bash your brains in.
Yep.
I'm gonna bash them
Nice.
right up.
Yeah.
I think that was a little callback to The Shining, yeah?
Mhm.
Not going to hurt you. I'm just going to bash your fucking head in. Whatever he says to her.
Does he say that in The Shining too?
Yeah, he says that. I didn't think the dog was threatening the whole time. I kind of felt like the dog was just standing there looking at him. Like, I don't remember the dog growling at him, did he?
Oh, yeah, it was growling.
Well, the
No.
dog was growling at the ghost behind him.
Yeah, that's
That's the way I looked
Oh.
at it.
yeah. The dog didn't seem like it was threatening him at all. And then, we see the little group of children behind him, and then the dog
That's what-
takes
and
off.
As soon as they disappear, dog, I got no interest here. I'm out.
Yeah. And then he goes inside and he doesn't mention to his wife, like, hey, maybe we should tell the kids to be careful in the backyard because there's a fucking rabid pit bull running in the neighborhood. Nope, it's fine.
Jimmy's in the bushes. It's fine. Don't worry
Yeah,
about
it's
it.
good.
Don't
Jimmy's
lock
in the
the doors or
and-
anything.
Yeah, and that fucking kid again. I've had enough of that. I've had enough of that if I'm him. Sorry, buddy. You're broken. I can't live with you anymore.
Oh, God.
Freaking me out, man.
This is why we don't have children.
Yeah. Because I always say,
That to me was a good idea.
yeah, I mean, I always say, like, what if you it was a good idea. What if you don't like the kid? Then you stuck with him till he's 18. I wouldn't put up with it. I'd be like, listen, buddy, it didn't work out. You got a new last name now. You live at the orphanage.
Oh, my God.
Fucking, I wouldn't put up with it. I wouldn't know.
Oh, my
Okay.
God.
This is how you tell us things without telling us things, Des. It's okay. It's okay. You're
It's
in your
called show, don't tell.
Oh,
you're in
God.
your safe place. It's okay. Share it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I revealed some pretty horrifying facts of my childhood to Lynn on our drive to Trader Joe's today, which we won't get into, but this movie did jar loose. So anyway.
Oh, my goodness.
You
Moving
ran over
on.
people with lawnmowers.
So the deputy returns. He's put 2 and 2 together and he sees a connection in the murders Ellison's asked him to look into. Ellison decides to let him in and shows him what he's found. He asks the deputy to figure out where the drowning family happened. He names a local professor that might be able to help with the occult parts of the case because there's a symbol and they don't really know what it is. It's not a pentagram. It's not something that they recognize. That night, there's just one movie left and Ellison decides to screen it. A family is watching TV inside their home. The camera fixates on a lawnmower that begins to move and it runs over someone on the grass as Ellison jumps up, terrified by what he just witnessed. And like Tony, as I've said before, what you see sometimes is way scarier. Sometimes what you don't see is way scarier than what you actually did see. And I think that this applies heavily to this scene.
This film is the best one. I mean, the hanging one, it's because it's so methodical and so slow. The terror doesn't hit you until they're like on the way up. You're like, wait, are they gonna hang? Like, oh my God, this is really happening. But the lawnmower is so sudden And
Yeah.
because it's at night, it's raining, and there's a single flashlight aimed at the front of a lawnmower that you're watching, that you're pushing, and you
Mhm.
don't see the person that runs over until the person's head is right in front of the lawnmower.
Yep.
Yeah.
And and then there's a sound cue, and it messes you all up, and you do a jump, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
so well
Yeah.
done.
It got me.
The scariest kill for me was the one where the child gets his throat slit, and you see it in the killer's glasses. Oh no, you see it in
Oh, I
Ethan
think it's
Hawke's
in Ethan
glasses.
Hawke's glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really scary. This one, what I was saying to Dylan today, what I loved about this kill was you got the throwback to Black Christmas or to Halloween, where we really got the full effect of, the killer POV, where he actually, walks into the garage, gets the lawnmower. And I really was kind of taken back to those movies. So it was kind of nostalgic. I really liked the way they used it. And it was funny because when he's coming up, I'm like, what's he going to do with the lawnmower? I'm like, you'd have to be buried pretty deep for the lawnmower to hit him. But then when I realized how he killed him, he tipped the lawnmower back.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, God damn, that's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. Gross.
But I'm glad they didn't try and show, and I thought that was the strength of this film, was they didn't try and show us all these kills with, Hollywood effects. It didn't need it,
Yeah.
It was
No, I think
it was
that
way more realistic, and because, like Dylan said, your mind creates something a million times worse than they could ever show us.
And Ethan Hawke's acting is so good. The way he reacts was a jump scare, and it makes you know what he's seeing is like fucked up.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It was enough for me to see his reaction to know I didn't want to see it.
Right.
You know?
And now the deputy comes in the morning, and first of all, I love this interaction between the two of them, and I love
Yes.
the deputy because it's great because they didn't bring in comedy relief, which I appreciated in this movie because it was such a specially scary movie that I didn't want comic relief. I wanted to stay in it, but he had just a saison of comedy relief that.
But he was so smart. It didn't make him stupid. That was the best part about it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you expecting him to be the bungling deputy,
Detective. Yeah.
or the bungling, and he's not. He's like, hey, I did criminal justice, I did forensic science, like I know things, know. And it was like, wow, okay, he's not an idiot.
But he's also a fanboy, and he wants his 5 minutes of fame, 15 minutes of fame, and he's willing to bend the rules to get it because Ellison will take him into his office at this point and reveal some of what he's found.
True.
And the deputy is going to see pictures on the wall that he's never seen before. I'm guessing he was part of the investigation initially for this murder of the house he's living in. And there's some pictures on this board that he should have been like, hey, where'd you get this picture? I've never seen this before.
Right.
And he's not asking these questions. So I don't know. It kind of contradicts his character a little bit. I mean, he's super smart. He's putting all these things together, but at the same time, he's not asking obvious questions. Is he turning a blind eye?
I also think that he's holding back because, like you said, he does want to be part of it, and he doesn't want to give up his hand either.
Right.
He's a lot smarter than he leads on in the first few interactions.
Yes.
Definitely.
He has the connections, he has the resources, and he comes out with what he knows at the end. So I think he was doing the same exact thing. He was playing I'm going to downplay what you think of me and just do what you want me to do, but I'm still connecting all the dots.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. And I think he was also conducting his own investigation for his own reasons. Like you said, he probably saw all that and didn't want to get locked out of the office, if you will. And he wasn't going to bring the rest of the police force in to see it because then he's not the guy that's discovering it. So, yeah, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, you almost have to think like he almost has the same kind of motivation that Ellison does. I want to be the guy that does this or involved in it, so he almost has the same kind of motivation at that point. He wants to be in the acknowledgement page. He wants to be this. He wants, so it's like, so he has his own motivations. So it makes him interesting.
And that's another thing I loved about this movie was all these characters are flushed out so well. Like all of them, even the little kids. They all, you know so much about them by this
With
time in the
just-
movie.
with just offhanded comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever spelled out for you. It's all just in their actions and the lines between characters.
Yeah.
It's not a sledgehammer of plot that's killing you with it.
Yeah.
This is,
And honestly, like again, a little jump ahead, but even the sheriff, the older guy,
Mhm.
what is he? He talks to them twice,
Yeah.
and you know who he is, but he even like he gives you a little, like in the second interaction, you get even more of who he is, and it's like he's not a
Oh,
bad guy. He's not a
No.
bad guy. He's just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. And like you said, in like maybe a total of 3 minutes of exposition, everything he thinks about the family, why he thinks this about the family.
Mhm.
Like it's a lot of information given to us. Very smart. It's a very smart screenplay. It
Yes.
really is.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So Professor Jonas, a nice cameo by Vincent D'Onofrio.
Fuck yeah.
It was awesome. Contacts Ellison and tells him that the symbol that he sent him is associated with an old god dating back to the Babylonian times and is called Bagul, the children eater. He's said to lure a child out of their own world and take them to the netherworld where he feeds off their soul. The professor figures out there's been another killing and tells Ellison to tell him everything that he can. After his conversation, Ellison packs up the movies, puts away the projector, and makes sure his office door is locked. At 3 a.m., the noise of the projector wakes him again. He runs into the room to find the movie of the hanging family is playing again. He shuts it off before hearing movement in the house again. As he's moving through the darkened house, a decaying face he cannot see appears behind him. It's Stephanie, the missing girl.
Man.
Then a young boy, the boy from the pool party family, is standing behind him as he looks out the window. He also appears to be deteriorating as well. As he checks the family's bedrooms, a little girl in a yellow slicker stands behind him. She's from the lawnmower family. He comes back down the hallway, and the boy from the Sleepy Time family chases him just to duck into one of the rooms as Ellison turns around. The projector is running again. He checks on Ashley, and she's facing the wall, seemingly asleep. As Ellison shuts the door, the camera pans, and we see she is not asleep. She's staring at the corner where Stephanie has painted 4 people hanging from a tree on Ashley's wall with an image of the Bagul next to it, and she shushes Ashley. So that's it. That's the full body chill. It was like,
Oh,
yeah.
And that was my scream. I swear I heard my neighbor go, "Somebody help that lady." I freaking shrilled when the little face was behind him. Yeah, it was awesome. Fucking great scenes, man. Some really good jump scares.
I also like that this kind of makes you think like all these noises that are in the house are the kids. It wasn't always the Bagul making all these noises.
Yeah.
And I think that, we find out later that this is done on purpose to scare the family and make them want to leave.
So this was the scene where he's laying in bed and somebody walks into the room with a flashlight and shines it on his face.
No.
Yes?
No, that's later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because like we're going to get, I think what you just said is perfect because the quicker these people move out, the quicker they can get on to the next murders.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is, I think it's the kids that have been making all these noises all along.
Oh, there was another point I wanted to make. That's right. About the scene. So when the deputy comes in the morning, so Ellis makes a point. He says, so this murder was in 1960s, whatever. And the deputy's like, wow, that would make the killer really old. How would he be overpowering these people? And Ellison says something to the effect of he could be drugging them.
Yes.
And so he's onto it. He's starting to realize this. And now at this point, they know there's a child missing every time. And it's starting to feel like maybe they should be starting to put this together. Maybe. I'd be looking at my children like, which one of you little motherfuckers is going to poison me? Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know if I think that this whole thing with the night terrors is a misdirection. That you're supposed to think that it's Trevor.
Yeah.
And it's still supposed to be innocent because it's night terrors. They've given both kids reasons to be weird.
Right.
One's got night terrors, the other one draws on walls for whatever reason she has. We're never really given a main reason.
Right.
And she's weird looking too.
Well, that's just her face. What are you going to do with genetics? You know.
Well, no, they've got her eyes a little darker. They're trying to make this kid look creepy right from the beginning of the movie.
Well, I mean, she's not sleeping. Obviously, neither kid is sleeping. And
Right.
would you with that parent? You know.
Yeah, right.
Did anybody notice what the shirt was that the professor was wearing?
No.
Not off the top of my head.
I can't. I didn't write it down. It was like an Iron Maiden shirt. I believe it was a heavy metal band. And I love when he says to him, "This isn't the kind of thing you'd see painted on some death metal band's wall." So yeah, he was cool in this. The character was cool.
Any D'Onofrio site is always awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, it was so funny too because he starts talking, and it's a little computer screen, and he's talking, and I'm like, I think I know who that is. So I paused it, and I was watching it on Amazon. So it pops up, Vincent D'Onofrio. I was like, oh, I was like, just like him to take this little tiny role, and he's all scraggly, and just like, okay.
Yeah, the movie was so legit, man. It was so legit. Which is what made it so scary, because there was never that moment in the movie when I'm like, this is campy or this is cheesy. No, this was like watching a legit fucking movie.
Yeah. Oh, I actually, before I forget, so Ellison Oswald, he is named after Harlan Ellison and Patton Oswalt. Harlan Ellison's a famous writer, and Patton Oswalt is an actor, but he's also a horror film fanatic. So
see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that
Yeah.
Patton Oswalt was a huge horror fan.
Yeah, he's a big horror fan. So he was named after those two people, which I thought was interesting.
Cool.
All right. So let's see here. Okay, so the next day, the deputy comes over, and Ellison presses him to find out if anything weird happened in the house where the Stevensons lived. The deputy thinks Ellison is cracking under the pressure. Later that same day, Ashley gets in trouble for painting in the hallway, and she says that Stephanie asked her to, and says that she's the girl Daddy's writing about, and she used to live here. So the cat's out of the bag, and here's the big fight. Tracy is pissed, and big yup, she deserves to be pissed. Ellison tries to gaslight her by saying she said she didn't want to know. I was like, nope. There's a long conversation or fight where Tracy gives him hell, and Ellison tries to claim that writing these books is his legacy. And honestly, this is it sounds like a lot of him trying to, backpedal and make it seem like it's all okay, but it's really not okay. It's a little narcissistic, honestly. And from a dude that just spent the night running around the house being haunted by lost souls and have been awakened at least twice by a projector running that he's turned off in the middle of the night, claiming that the house is safe is a huge lie. It's a huge lie.
Dude, this scene, there's so many things we're glossing over. First of all, again, these people, the state should be taking these children away. This fucking kid is telling you that a dead girl has painted this fucking thing on the wall. And you know what they say to her? Go to your room. We're going to go have a fight. What? I'm grabbing that kid and I'm like, so you're seeing ghosts and you're drawing murder scenes on the wall. We need to get this kid to a hospital immediately. They're like, go to the room, okay? Don't grab a butcher knife out of the drawer. Go to your bedroom and go talk to the dead girl and draw some more pictures in blood. I have to fight with your mother. And then this fucking lady is going to get on Ellison like he's a bad dad. It's like, you've been fucking, your kids are having night terrors. There's baseball bats. Your husband's drinking night and day. Your kids are fucking being sent home from school for drawing murder scenes on blackboards. You're both shit. Fuck you.
That just sounds like the 80s to me, personally. Whatever.
The only thing the kids are missing is that they need their own key to get in the house.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. So this was normal.
We call that Thursday in the DeMara house.
Here we go. Let's get into it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony, you said that this fight scene made you uncomfortable. So
Yeah, 100%. It's every person has been caught in a lie. One of those lies you think like, all right, this is not a big deal, even though somewhere in there you know that the person is going to make it a big deal, but you try to get through it and you try to stick to it. And I'm sticking to this lie. Then you realize, all right, I'm fucked. I'm going to just own up to it. And you own up to it, and it blows up in your face. And you try to do, but man, you're just done. And watching the two of them go, it's like, I've had those fights way too many times. And then it's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to just use because I deserve it.
Yeah, I didn't lie. We're not 2 doors down. You fucking cockroach.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, the way she looks at the realization on her face
Yeah.
when that head comes out is just this. Oh, here it comes. Oh my! It's like when you're watching a baby cry and they and there's just silence. You know the next scream is going to be the loudest thing in the world. That's what that scene was. And just like, oh, I don't want to be here for this. Mommy and daddy are fighting. I want to go to my.
Some great lines too, like, so what? They were murdered here? No one was killed in this. It's not like they were killed in the bed or in the house. Oh, so no one was killed here. No, they were
They were killed in the
murdered their
backyard.
Our fucking kids are playing in that yard.
And
it
the
was a good
limb is
scene.
still hanging from the tree. It's not even like they took the minute to cut it down.
Oh yeah, and the little steps are still nailed to the tree.
I mean,
Oh my
we can
God.
laugh about this stuff all we want, but it was a good scene. Like
It was
yeah.
a great scene.
how these kids are just the worst kids and you should do it. But every scene in this movie was so perfect and so needed to get
Mhm.
everything that we're making fun of out of it. But we're making fun of it because it's true. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
bothersome.
Dude, this scene works so well because these actors are so good and this director is so good and it's shot so well. I mean,
And
this
it's
is
written
legit.
so well.
Yeah, you're not getting this out of a lot of horror movies. It just
Yeah.
usually you're not going to draw actors that could give you this performance. I mean, it's really good. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You know, it kind
I
of
mean,
reminds
this
me
fight
of
feels completely real. This fight,
Yeah.
like I completely believed it. And I know that Ethan Hawke is not married to this woman, but I believed that fight 100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
And,
him
you
and
know-
Uma had that fight.
yeah. You know, another movie
Uma
that
would
had
kick
great
his ass.
acting that was, like Poltergeist. Like, there's some really good acting in that. That feels like the 80s. You feel like you're watching, real life.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that Poltergeist was not really a terrifying movie or anything, but it's a cut above in horror. What do you think, Tony?
Oh, the family felt completely real, and I don't care what anybody says. Spielberg fingerprints are all over that movie. I know he's only the quote producer, but he was on set constantly, and he was in Hooper's ears every day.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
every report that I've ever read, every article, it's like, no, he didn't do this. Oh, bullshit. That could
Yeah.
be E.T. the sequel. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Oh, dude, it is E.T. It's so
It is.
amazing you just said that because
Same neighborhood. They filmed it all in the same neighborhood. Everything.
All right, man. That's funny. That's why it felt so familiar. Maybe. Yeah. Really good.
E.T. is not a child's movie. What were we what were our parents thinking letting us watch that?
Yeah.
Holy
Oh,
shit. Like
it's
I watch
heavy.
it now and I'm like, "Oh my God." Like
When he
I
wanders
watched
out
this
of
as
the
a
shed,
child.
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah,
my
when
God.
the light, the backlit, and all of a sudden this little troll thing comes out of the shit towards when you're sitting. Oh no.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And then when you're 10 years old, they bash your fucking heart in with a machete. When you're like, no, little alien, don't die.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
You're
then-
crying, bawling.
Yeah. Then they bring him back to life, and you're like, oh, thank God he's alive. Then they're like, oh, little alien, don't go back to your planet. It's like, yeah.
I don't know
Fuck
why
that
we thought
movie.
that this was a child's movie. It is not. That movie is traumatic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on. That's my
Moving on.
editorial for the night.
Oh,
Holy shit. Anyways, so a light shines on Ellison as he's sleeping. The projector again wakes him. Going to the office, the projector isn't on the table. He sees the attic ladder as if through the Super 8 movie. Like the ladder's kind of like moving funny. It's
Mhm.
it's a very interesting effect that they use here. Again, he takes the ladder up, and again, hell no. And he sees the 5 children, the missing children, all watching the projector. They turn to look at him and shush him, just as the Bagul is now coming on the screen, and he suddenly appears right in front of Ellison, who falls down the ladder and back into the hall. The box of film and the projector are thrown down at him. He takes it outside and sets it all on fire. Tracy comes outside and he says she was right and screams at her to go get the kids and get in the car because they're leaving. And this is a little too late, I think, right?
it's absurd that this woman is in bed sleeping and the children are all in their bed sleeping. She now has the information. You are in the fucking house of kill. You are sleeping in a fucking murder scene. She's like, well, nighty night. Good. Have a nice night of work in your office. I'm going to go snuggle. I'm going to take the kids and set up a tent in the backyard. You're like, fuck, man. Yeah, it's a little too little, a little too late.
I mean,
but-
I got to think that if I was her, I would have packed up the kids and left already. But
Yeah, but I'm not complaining because it's a powerful scene, and I love the moment that she realizes how much trouble they're in, and now Ethan Hawke knows how much trouble, and he's like, listen, get the fucking kids, we're leaving right now. And yeah, I felt the urgency.
absolutely.
Yep.
So they get into the car and Ellison is speeding out of town. The sheriff pulls them over for speeding, and Ellison says, I'm doing what you said. I'm leaving. There's not going to be a book. So the family is now in a new house. Ellison is ignoring Deputy So-and-so's phone calls, but he does speak to Professor Jonas, who explains that the Bagul is able to pull children into his realm through images. Ellison deletes the files he has saved with all the videos of the family murders and ignores another call from the deputy. He takes some boxes up to the attic in the new house, and there sits the blue projector box.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
He flips the box in anger and then sees an unfamiliar envelope. It says extended cut endings. So, I mean, after you just fled, I'm having a hard time thinking I would do it. But Tony, knowing you and knowing the film fanatic you are, you'd have to see what was on those films, right?
Dude, you know how many different countries I've ordered movies from? I guess got 5 minutes of extra footage. I think I bought Evil Dead 42 times at this point. Anchor Bay just keeps putting out, oh, look, we found this on the attic shot, or it's like this dust bunny that rolls by Ash's foot. Oh, it's a new one. I'll buy it. I'm a whore. You know.
Oh, that's fucking great. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd watch it. Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're putting yourself in the character of Ellis, we're all watching it. I mean, you have to.
Because now what do we got? What's in
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, then you see what's new, and it's bad. So, all
Which
right.
is?
Well,
So-
okay,
Well-
wait. So at this point, he has spoken to Deputy So-so?
No.
Okay.
Nope. So Ellison finally picks up the phone call from the deputy, and he gets pants shitting information. Each family lived in the house of the murdered family prior to the murders. As soon as they move to another house, they're killed. And Ellison just did the same thing. Despite the news, he sits down to watch the films. Each one shows missing kids at the scenes of their family's murder. They shush the screen and then disappear. Ellison all of a sudden realizes he's feeling a little woozy. He looks in his mug, and there's something green inside next to the note from Ashley saying, "Good night, Daddy." Ellison is foaming at the mouth, and Ashley is standing in the doorway. She's the one that's under the influence of the Bagul. The family is now tied up in a room together. Ashley appears with a Super 8 and an axe, claiming she will make him famous again. Ashley's walking down a hallway drenched in blood. The hallway's smeared with it, all the way towards a door with the Bagul symbol. The 5 children appear and walk towards the camera. The film is now playing on the wall as Ashley adds the drawing of what she did to her family to the drawings on the top of the film projector box. The children are waiting for her. She tilts her head, mimicking them, and the Bagul is behind her. He picks her up, and they disappear into the film. The projector box is now back in the attic, this time with a new movie called House Painting added to the collection.
Such a good ending.
Such a good ending. So this house was really big, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting the impression that he's a little frugal because he's only sold the one really big blockbuster book. Oh, I got the house at a good price. I mean, are we to believe that he's rich enough to be able to afford that house?
Well, I think they said that it's beyond their means, but they had to do what they had to do. I think there was
Okay.
something that they said like that everything was tied up in the other house, but we can go back into where we were before, and we can do what we have to do.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like Wayne Manor.
Yeah.
It's a nice house.
It's a big house. Yeah, so I mean, he's drinking the drink. He's seen the final cuts now. The deputy's given him the information that, that this is going on with the house thing. I think it's almost overdue now that he figures out that the kids are the ones killing the families. Don't you think? No?
I think that, he probably thinks that the Bagul is the one killing the families. I don't think he realizes that's actually the children doing it. Until
Right.
until it's too late. Yeah.
Yeah. What a totally awesome ending, though, like Tony said, man. And you know what I really loved about it? So he's laying there and she's got the axe and he realizes there's nothing he can do about it. He's drugged, he's half awake, and he just closes his eyes because he knows what's coming.
Yeah.
And I had remembered this movie differently. I thought that the deputy came and saved them for some reason. So when she pulls it off, I'm like, whoa. And then you see the little drawing and you're like, oh, she cut off their heads and their fucking their legs. I'm like, oh no. Like, that's fucked up. And yeah, fucking great, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like you also like I really thought it was Trevor. I really did. Like, I mean, yeah, she's messed up too. But I with all the night terrors and stuff, I was like, he's seeing the Bagul, and that's why he's having these night terrors. So like that was a little twist for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't one of those movies that was making me say, oh, who's the killer? Who's the killer? Because it was just such an interesting movie. That wasn't all I was focusing on. I was just like, I was along for the ride. And
Exactly. I didn't want to know. I wanted to see where it was going with them.
yes, 100%. So yeah, I mean, we all kind of saw it the same, which really just says that this director I think he hit his vision like almost perfectly.
Yeah, I
'Cause
really
we all
also
kind of,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we all saw the same movie.
Yeah, I really appreciate too that Ellison doesn't win. Like,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's like he's quote unquote the hero, the main character, and he doesn't win. You know,
Yeah.
he gets bested, and it was like, okay, like you kind of, you know, he's Ethan Hawke. He's a big star. You think he's going to make it to the end of the movie, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
It's nothing you expected to happen happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was such a downer of literally everything was a downer.
Yes.
You know, it's like everybody died. He died, she died, he died, everybody died. There's the kids all staying with Bagul. Bagul wins. There's no happiness. There's nothing positive in the ending. And it was such a great ending.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they ended it like that. And the deputy didn't even come in at the last minute and save the day, because that would have sucked. It was a great ending. And the Bagul was great. You know, had no lines. He didn't need any lines. He was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just dynamite movie, dynamite ending. Yeah.
Crazy.
Fucking A. So just quickly, Tony, you saw part 2, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I think I literally watched it once and I was like, this is not, like you said, this is not the same movie.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even tell you the main theme of it. That's
Right.
how forgettable it was for me.
Yeah. Same.
I mean, there's so many unanswered questions that I would like to have answered. Like, if he comes through images, and you know, does this mean that Vincent D'Onofrio is in trouble because he was looking at the images? What about the sheriff? He knows about him now. Is he in trouble? You know, like there are definitely questions I have.
Yeah.
But you know, at the same time, like it's almost more interesting to not have them answered.
Yeah, this is a movie like Wedding Singer last week when I said, geez, it made so much money. They could have given us part 2. Robbie's a rock star now. I'm glad they didn't. I didn't need to see it. And this was a movie they should have just let be a classic and just stand on its own. And I kind of wish they didn't do the sequels, but when there's money to be made, there's money to be made.
True enough.
Yeah. So, but forget it happened. That's a perfect movie on its own.
Yeah, it's fucking, man. It's a gem. So let's give our rewatch scores.
All right.
Tony, you go first because you always get cut off right at this moment.
I know, right? I'm gonna give it. The funny thing is, I didn't watch it before we reviewed it. I think I've seen it for. So, every time I do catch it on cable, like I'm flipping around, I'm like, ooh, all right, I'm gonna watch the whole thing.
Yep.
So I mean, I'm gonna give it at least a 4.5 out of 5, just because it's not one I want to watch all the time, because the more I watch it, the more I'm going to start picking it apart. And I don't want to do that because I really it is. There's so much amazing acting, pristine writing, and just the shots, the way they shot this movie between 8 millimeter and regular footage, and just I can't rave enough about this movie. 5 movies of like horror movies of all time, because it does everything right, you know, and that's rare for me to say. So I'll definitely go as high as 4.75.
All right.
Lynn?
So it got me. It scared me. I definitely found it clever, and I really appreciate that. And you know, I have problems with some horror films that I can't watch them, not because they're scary, but because like they get gross, and I don't really care for that. So this, like, they did it all without ever really getting gross, and I really appreciated that. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
4.5. All right. And since it's my show, even though this is Tony's segment, your scores aren't going to matter in this one. This movie is a perfect movie. I mean, it just is. It's a perfect movie. There's nothing you could do to make this movie better. There's nothing you could do with the writing, the acting, the ending, the beginning, nothing. This is a perfect horror movie. If you love horror, it's fucking great, man. So if you haven't seen this movie, what the fuck are you doing? Go see it. This is a great movie. It's a perfect movie. It's only the second perfect movie we've done. And yeah, awesome.
So does that mean you're giving it a 5?
I'm giving it, well, I have to give it a little more because you guys didn't come up there. So this is like, what? I have to give it a 5 3/4 or something. So yeah, it's a perfect movie. This is fucking great. So I want to thank you, Delyn, because you know I love doing movies with you. And Tony, I think that this segment was a success. I'm really liking it. And I want to thank the listeners, of course, because without you, this doesn't matter. And we have been getting a little bit of feedback from our listeners. So if you like this segment, let me know. Next week, we are going to be reviewing Kingpin with the podcaster with a fully packed bong, Pat. And we will be back with Tony next month for another installment of Tales of Terror with Tony. So, Tony, you'll figure out what movie we're going to do and you'll let us know. And we'll put it up on the Facebook page when we get that. So that's it.
Perfect.
All right, everybody. So until next time, let me ask you one question. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you later.
Bye.
See ya.
They call me Mr. Boogie, but you can call me Booger. Mr. Booger.